America's grand experiment in democracy is based on a relatively new and radical idea in world history: a government by and for all citizens. Throughout history, various forms of participatory and representative government have been tried as an alternative to kings and dictators. Without a strong sense of framework for government and the commitment to support it, most failed quickly. Until the United States was formed, democracy was a largely failed theory. It was widely believed that people simply could not govern themselves. We have made democracy work, more or less, thanks to our Constitution and the way its written framework for government is supported by the American people. The Constitution may be seen as merely a document, a bunch of words. However, it's important for us to remember that the words of the Constitution, what it says, are not as significant as the fact that we, as a people, as a society, have agreed to live by the spirit of the rules laid down in the Constitution. Civilization and living together. Some see the Constitution as a set of laws. Not exactly. Nor was the Constitution designed to give us specific individual rights. Instead, the Constitution is a document that assumes all human beings have equal rights, basic human rights. The goal of the Constitution is to limit what our government can do to restrain those rights. Ever since our earliest ancestors began to gather in tribes and villages, humankind has been looking for the best way to live together and maintain civilization. Chieftains and kings handed down laws and enforced them, often according to their own whims. But even when the leader was kind and just, people still wanted to know the rules, and they wanted assurances that the rules would be applied fairly and equally for everyone. In other words, they wanted the rule of law, a government of laws rather than of men. A constitution, whether for a powerful nation or for a local garden club, is a set of charter rules, a supreme or paramount law that outlines how the organization will operate. In terms of a nation, a constitution sets forth political principles, establishes power and authority, and defines rights and responsibilities. Our Constitution outlines the general principles for what the government can and cannot do. Specific laws enacted by the government, also called statutory laws, spell out the details. For example, the U.S. Constitution gives the government the authority to collect taxes, but leaves it to the government to decide who and what will be taxed and how much. The U.S. Constitution establishes a federal system of state governments that operate with a certain amount of self-rule under a single national government. There is a constant balancing of interests to preserve the rule of law and prohibit any person or group of people from dominating the government, and to prevent even a duly elected, overwhelmingly popular government from trampling individual rights. There are balances among the three branches of government, between the states and the federal government, and among individual states. Not all constitutions are codified. Israel, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom have constitutional governments. But instead of a single written document, their constitutional laws derive from a number of different documents and unwritten principles that are sometimes called common law. Common law is the body of law, largely unwritten, that evolved in England during the centuries through prevailing customs, widely accepted principles, and decisions by courts rather than through legislation action or administrative orders. Written or not, it's important to remember that a constitution is so much more than its actual words. The former Soviet Union had a beautifully written constitution, full of the same sort of high-minded language the U.S. Constitution uses to guarantee liberty.